I think so.
All right. So to start the meeting tonight, we have a public hearing to discuss the expending of funds from the flexibility account, $43,136.18 salaries and benefits from the unexpended, unobligated 22-23 preschool fund. So we'll open up to the public for any comments. Matt? Sue's good. Okay. Take a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Motion to a second.
Second.
Public hearing is adjourned. We also have another public hearing to discuss the 24-25 district calendar school start date. So is there any public that wishes to speak to the school start date for next year? No. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing for the start date.
So moved.
Motion, we have a second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is adjourned. We can call the regular meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda at all? We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda has been approved. So we'll move on to the consent items. I guess one thing I was thinking of, you probably saw the email from the Booster Club. Did you guys get that? There's some donors that may not be donating this year, so that activity fund might need to be more closely watched as far as what we spend and budgeted for. I guess I don't know how that works for next year, or if we've already written the check for this year.
We haven't received a check from them.
Okay, so I guess that's just something to keep in mind. I guess
And I think they were waiting on me to get them,
oh yeah,
but I've given that to Mr. Vaughn and to Dr. Clapper now.
Okay.
We came out about $3,000 to the bid. Thanks to some maneuvering I did and paid for some things not out of activity, but out of saved. It hasn't been audited yet, so we'll see if auditors have a problem with it. Otherwise, we're going to be in a hole with it. So I think he'll be sharing that with boosters soon.
You know, we have a meeting scheduled October 26th. That evening during offices. So it's really intense. So I'd see, I don't know who else on the email, but there's a meeting to talk about budget and extra budget. But that document was very helpful. Thank you for doing it.
Since we're just talking about that in general, that fund and having that meeting with Dennis, I kind of feel like we as a board need to probably, I don't know, make some decisions on like the amount of money and have a budget for that. Rather, I feel like it's just kind of the money, who wants what, whatever. And I think, well, I know the coach that we were meeting with, I mean, I think they would just feel better too, knowing, okay, this is the amount of money that's there and this is what we have to spend. And they'll, you know, you'll still be on the uniform rotation or whatever. And I think it's better for the boosters too, because they also know, hey, here's the money we have and we need your help, this amount, because this is all we have. You know, football only has this much money. But I mean, that's just a suggestion.
That's kind of the document Julie just
Yeah,
created.
so it goes over all of last year, the amount of revenues that we brought in for each sport. As far as admissions, entry fees in some cases, and then it shows you the expenditures that offset. In most cases, they're negative. They don't make a positive
Right.
balance.
Right.
And so, but what that will let you know is instead of buying 12 baseballs, you're going to buy 6 baseballs,
Right.
or, you know, and cut it down that way.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's about the way it's gonna be, I think. Okay. I would agree that it's very stressful, just watching those numbers and know that,
I'll share that document right now. I was just searching for my email like I did. Then you'll all at least have it as well.
Seems like we spent a lot of time last spring talking about, for this year, we need to make sure we get budgets and know what we got.
And then I think, if we know how much we got, work with the athletic director, but it's like, we have a uniform schedule or whatever, but this is your, it's your baby and it gets spent. That's all we're gonna contribute or can contribute, so.
Later to check your emails. It's
I mean, if I'm wrong to that, I don't, as long as I have a little bit to be dangerous, we're never going to be able to balance without booster club help. Never, okay, we're talking 15 to 25, a long way every year.
we made $3,000 over the whole funds, all of them,
And that
all of them
included
together.
them giving uniform money and extra money. Or not,
And yeah,
Okay.
it did, but it's almost a wash. The boosters basically give you exactly what you asked for. So it's almost a wash. There's, if they gave you $220 for your end of year banquet and you only spent 200, well, now you got $20 in your account, but that's not even bold. That's
Right.
your fundraising account.
correct,
So anything that you're gonna see on these documents that I give you, in theory, anything that boosters have given us should have an expense almost for the exact amount. So you really can take those things out of it. And I could run you a tab on what's left and how much we're in the hole and go from there.
raise.
I mean,
raise
that
admission
$3,000 includes ticket,
Sure.
activity passes. And we do fit pretty good on that, and we still only come away with $3,000.
And that, I'm afraid, is only gonna get worse.
It's
Everything's online now, so it's like,
I think what you're gonna see when you look at these documents, and I've said it to Michael and them, is there is a significant amount of money that goes to subscriptions that is not a direct impact on the students or on the athletes, and I,
goes to
To
the
me-
company providing the service.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the students may, like in football sense, it provides a highlight video, so
Talking
that
about
it's,
huddle,
yeah, that's one of them, but there's more. But yeah, like Huddle, it provides a student with a highlight video so that they can send it to their colleges of choice or things like that. They get that, but when we also pay $3,000 to ASPE. And when you see those documents, it's going to be glaring to you what those subscriptions
Yeah,
cost.
just to see if there's any duplications in there.
So I did that this year, this new year coming up. Because out of the blue, I got a $2,500 bill from Bound. Well, we've been paying 500. And so I go back to Mr. Vaughn and we have these conversations. Mr. Vaughn calls them and he says, well, after we've talked to your coaches, this is what they think they need. Well, what the coaches think we need and what we have the money for are two different things. So, but that wasn't, had we not questioned that, I'd have just written the check for $2,500 and another one to ASPE for $3,000 and
our school.
our school
And
and
our school and Bound. We're switching to Bound, but they do sort of the same thing. So those aren't two that we're gonna have to pay moving forward. We'll just have to pay for Bound and our school will just go away. But still, there are a lot of these subscriptions.
So, yeah, because we're paying money for that, plus we're losing the gate from people on the other end because they're not showing up to the live events.
right.
So it's kind of a double whammy.
I think there is talk, maybe charging now for online
a huddle is gonna go where you cannot put it out for free. So we use our huddle cameras, huddle controls that, and they will not allow it.
So even though you purchased the huddle camera, they still control what you put on it?
Correct.
See, that's crazy, silly. When you, so
We all
when
know,
we video it and people are watching it from YouTube, how is that?
we can
Is
right
that
now,
huddle?
yes,
Yes.
Okay,
and they haven't switched to that, we're being
Okay.
told that huddle is going to go, if you, now we could come in with our own camera, football camera with huddle, but if we want to, we can videotape and put it out on YouTube. But it takes us to use a different camera than the huddle cameras. Huddle was supposed to make it real easy on the camera, so we wanted to do graduation in a year or two whenever huddle says it, we just have to set up a separate camera and videotape from that camera. Huddle and Bound is the big one. They are monopolizing, we're not going to have a choice, and there is no one competing with Varsity Bound and Huddle. Our state is going to Varsity Bound, everyone is on Huddle, and they're starting to realize there's no competition, so we're just jacking it up. Now, Booster Club supported Huddle, I don't know the break, but it went, we pay the most, it's $8,000, I think, on it for everything.
boosters pay 5,500.
Right, so we're out, and that, we get the whole gamut of everything with our huddle cameras and all our, now, you're talking about, is it the wrestling that you were mentioning, that other subscription? What's that? I don't know what sport that's with.
It's all of it.
No.
Oh, ASPI, ASPI, ASPI.
That's
That's Bound, isn't it?
Well, we're paying two different companies then.
I don't know what
Huddle's
huddle,
not Bound, they're two separate.
huddle Bound or separate, but I've never heard of that
What's the
company.
track?
It's the, yeah, that's
The
it.
track starting,
ASPI is Bound. Okay, so, but there's also track wrestling, track,
And that's
and track has
too.
another one.
And they.
Bound will go through, yeah, Bound will go through.
That was
Track.
3,000.
I think we're gonna get the point outside of wrestling, which they kind of live in another world, that track wrestling, when I try to see stuff, that's not Bound or Huddle.
No,
Everything else.
it's not really that.
Okay, so we're gonna live with a Bound and Huddle subscription, I think.
Eventually.
well, and what we've
Yeah.
been told too with Bound, and correct me if I'm wrong. Bound, if it costs $8,000, it costs $8,000 whether you're Baxter, and it still costs $8,000 whether you're Southeast Polk. Everybody gets charged the same amount,
Which is terrible.
it's not.
Because we don't bring in
It's-
near
that's their
the funds
fee.
that South Spoke does.
Or, any school, like that's their standard fee, so it just.
And not only that, but with Bound, eventually, even the regular season games are going to tickets only, no cash at the door. And those are gonna be run through Bound, and they're gonna charge 90 cents per transaction.
So the people are gonna be the ones and.
So now we're out that too,
How can they dictate what we do with our?
because
own
there's no
kids?
competition.
So unless you don't use,
That's why they, if you have to buy a ticket through them, yeah, they're gonna.
Yeah, so
Ticket
there's
master.
a lot of schools that will keep kicking and screaming for a few years on, we don't wanna go. Now, the state's actually sent out the scanners, because if we have a state event, if we're hosting anything with state, it is cashless.
Yep.
Because the state dictates those games, we still dictate our home games, and we can continue for as long as we can to say, we would rather just be, but as everybody goes, you know how that goes, and then people are wanting to not bring money, and they show up from BCOUW and say, I can't buy this on my phone. But you have to have cash, we're one of few that we have to make sure our ADs are putting it out there, we are pay at the door. It will get to that, but I think you're 3 or 4 years away from somebody mandating that we do it. But there's a lot of schools going to that they're just not taking.
Well, the bigger schools, you only get tickets and you buy them days in advance. Like you go to Valley football game, you don't even go to a window to
Oh,
buy a
no,
ticket.
you
It's
should
all
your
done
phone and
before.
then you see it.
Yeah.
You buy it. Just wanted to say, I mean, I started this, that, I mean, I'm pretty Colette's correct, but I mean, it's gonna take the AD, and there's so many things that you can't budget for, that it's just necessity. So we can talk about when we went to this PO, and it's been really good, need and want, need and want. And there's a gray area between need and want. You can say you want 6 baseballs, but you're gonna show up at a game the last 4 games and not have baseballs. And if it's a home date, we don't have there's certain things you don't have a choice. There's things you can strap on, we all do in our budgets. But there's, and everyone I know had the booster club, they're either giving X amount or the AD's reporting every month and saying, can you get this? I'm looking ahead, I need this purchased, I need that purchased as we go. So it's either on the back end or as we go, but And I'm hearing the same numbers from schools in our conference that we're needing 15, 20, 25 to get to break even every year. And it's putting a lot of pressure on people to fundraise because we already are there. There is no, I mean, outside of protective equipment, if we want in footballs, anything else is having to be fundraised. So, and there are still programs that don't bring anything in that are not fundraising, and then they come up with wanting something, and it's hard to say, nope, but that's the answer. Nope.
So in one of the, I think it's the bills, yeah, when we had some, pink uniform.
Yeah.
Is that something that boosters do, or?
That was a third, a third, a third. So that was boosters, no, half and half. School didn't put anything in.
Oh, okay.
It was, Westlink fundraising account and boosters. There may have been a personal donation that was a third of that. So I feel like it was a third, a third, a third. And so that third, 1/3 may have been personal donation.
And that's something I kind of got a little problem with. I mean, it's great that they have that. But then it's like, it's almost jumping the schedule on the
Yeah,
uniform deal.
well, and
And it's like, if you got money to buy special uniforms, why don't you use that money to buy regular uniforms?
it kind of flashing back to when we.
So we had
became the
that
Bolt, and
track
we have
A
the,
year ago. or
right,
2
the
years
the
ago.
logo or the branding or all of that, and. I mean, I get the idea behind it and everything, I just wondered what our style guide is really for going outside of. Whatever that was.
So prior to Bolt uniforms, really didn't have a need or a want to go outside of the school getting the uniforms. I would say the first time it happened was with track. And a special group of girls who would participate outside of the overall team. And so they fundraised for those uniforms.
That was last spring. I think they
Last,
asked
was it last spring? There was just a couple of events that they were going to participate in, just those couple of events. It wasn't the whole team. And I wouldn't say that it was positively reviewed for quite a few people. I did ask the question, but poo-pooed on it, and so it went through. Then we had this one, and I wasn't part really of any of this conversation, but I do think boosters requested something out of them, and that may have been that third personal donation. But I'm not privy to that whole conversation, so.
Anything, Colette, yeah,
What's that?
usually has something.
I do, but now I can't find it. That lion bill for 16,000 or whatever, was it on the bills or the prepaid? I can't find it. Right. Okay, which, that's okay. Yeah, it was on the prepaid, that's what I have, I can't find it, okay. And normally it's on the bill. And so I just wondered why was it on the prepaid?
So we get an individual bill for every individual account. And almost always, the large bill doesn't show up in time for the bills. But it's due before the next bills are due. So then we do a prepaid. Doesn't happen always.
Yeah, right, but
But
I feel like
just
the last few
sometimes.
months it was in this
Yeah.
regular bills.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's another thing that I'm working on. They've been charging us sales tax. So I got on to them about that. So now I'm in the process of doing a refund for multiple years. So, from a line. So I have to go through the state, so we'll see how far back they'll let me go.
No, I was kind of scrolling through. I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
And I'll second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of approving the consent item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Consent items are approved. Correspondence for fun. Move on to public forum.
I printed it out this time because I had so many areas I wanted to talk about. Even when I was practicing at home, I found myself digressing into all. So this is hopefully keeping me on track, and we'll see how well it works for me. I've been talking about AI the last few months, and I wanted to continue that for some very specific reasons and get into more details, hopefully to add to some of the possible conversations that your instructors have when you're talking about how to improve education here. So I started off in my email by pointing out there's a difference between just information and actual knowledge that you can put to use, you can understand, you can use it to solve problems. And I use one example here because the University of Maryland, where I've taught for over 17 years, a few years ago, began completely rewriting their curriculum, and they began by selecting specific concepts, and those same concepts are at use in every discipline that is taught. So every degree program, every discipline within those degree programs, you're just applying them in different ways because people will relate to these differently, sometimes based on their life experiences, because we all have them, both good and bad. You try to learn from them and figure things out. And one of the ways that I like to do that in my classes is I'll ask for some specific examples and let people use their life experiences on the topic, because we happen to have a variety of different ages, and some have been in the military, since we do have a contract with the Department of Defense. And they bring you ways of applying it, which opens up possibilities to others that hadn't thought about it before because they hadn't been exposed to it before. So it's kind of like walking around something like a 3D thing and seeing it from different perspectives. And I love those aha moments when they say, oh, I hadn't looked at it like that before, but it's made a connection with them. It's something like doing exercises. And yes, I've done them daily for years and years and years. But the idea is to keep your body in shape so you can apply it to a variety of ways of doing it. This is like mental ways of doing it. And this fall, where at the University of Maryland, is where they finally had groups meeting this past spring. And for each specific class, we all contributed our suggested discussion topics and other activity topics. And we did get to have a lot of input, but they decided on some. So in general, we all use those, but we rely on the experiences of others and the different degree programs that they are in. And they apply those to it, and it adds so much to the discussions. You very commonly have other students saying, well, I hadn't looked at it like that before. And now they're looking at it a little bit differently. So it's now adding to the mental exercises that they've been doing here. But the link that I provided in here again, I'm so bad at names, I had to print it out just to remember the poor guy's name. October 8th, this past October 8th, 60 Minutes in one of their 20-minute presentations, had one on AI, and they call this guy like the father of it, Jeffrey Hinton, because he did his graduate degree paper on AI over 50 years ago. His PhD instructor told him that he had no future if he was just going to focus on that because it wasn't going to be worth anything. He was wrong. So I provided the link so you could see that 20-minute segment with all the, although they do have, you can read everything that went on, but I just don't quite have all the pictures in there. But what's important about it that they didn't have the picture I wanted. Hinton was focused on the fact that they developed a robot that thought by having various neural connectors, our brains have neural connectors. You form a circuit and you problem solve. And the segment shows them chat boxes solving problems and experimenting until they get it right. And then they got it, they reuse it, and they build it up to add more strength, like doing your exercises. The biggest chat boxes right now only have 1 trillion connections. Our human brain has 100 trillion, and it's provably worse at problem solving. So what I provided in my handout that I emailed to all of you was the idea that by using this approach to concepts that University of Maryland and other schools are using, even at the K-12 level, you can start helping students to connect to them and learn how to apply them across disciplines in a variety of ways, because that's already improving their brain exercising, which can improve their abilities, and you can build on that down the road. And yes, going into the future, I do plan to use some specific examples. They're microscopic, but I use them across disciplines because I've got degrees across multiple disciplines. But I also have students in different degree programs required to take like the classes that I teach. And so I asked them to apply the concepts that we're covering and demonstrate how those apply from other disciplines. And the other students, they all really like seeing that. So if you're not including this already in some of your discussions, maybe something in the link and others connected to this can help with that. And I do promise to include some specifics down the road, but I didn't want to go too far beyond my time. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Business items. Start with principal reports.
What you got? No, I'll go first. Okay, I'll tune you out, buddy. I want to start with recognizing a lot of the things when I just started about the last month, just so many positive accomplishments by teams and individuals. So first of all, our cross country boys finished second in the conference at the conference meet last week. Predominantly all year long, Matt Richardson and Max Handorf have been at the top. I feel really confident. I think you're going to see a great meet from them and get to state. Zoe Gleam's another one, but I'll report back with our runners at state. But we've been at the top with those three. Lower level football, junior high JV actually went 9-1. We've not always been successful at the lower levels of participation, but when one of them goes undefeated and the other only loses one game, I thought that was worth saying, along with the varsity team making the playoffs, which is our 4th year in a row doing that. 3rd time in a row getting on a bus and going a long way away, but we're excited for that on Friday. Kind of roll in the cheerleaders to homecoming. So we had homecoming a few weeks ago. We've been to so many small schools and in so many gyms and sports to see what our cheerleaders do. That doesn't happen in small districts. I mean, the numbers are great, but the quality of those numbers are fantastic. I just sat there on the other side since Dennis we passed the torch to run the homecoming pep rally this year and just watch gym packed. And I mean, what the cheerleaders did, and that night is just kind of what the Bolts are about. They kind of get you excited. But cheerleaders, couple non-athletic groups that have been really active. Our FFA has been really active. Some really great things happen out there. They're heading to the national convention here in a few weeks, and they're going to report back after that about their trip to Indianapolis. Our yearbook is always a year behind, so our new one came out just a month ago, and our yearbook is one of the top small school yearbooks in the state for sure. It's phenomenal. And those kids are going over to Iowa City in a few weeks too for a conference and some PD. So that group works extremely hard. Back to homecoming, I jumped down. Just wanted to recognize, as I always do, our king and queen, Trayton Travis and Julie Damon. I think our student body handles that really, really well. We try to get away from the popularity contests and stuff, but that's tradition. And every year I just think, well, our kids really recognize those two or whoever it is and really do a nice job with that. I talked about how great our teaching staff and our new teachers, I think I talked about last time. There's 3 individuals, non-teachers, that I think just do a fantastic job for us. And one is Angie and Amanda. So I know we moved some things last year and shuffled some duties and some new faces. I can't even begin to tell you how unbelievable Amanda Mormon has been for us. And on top of everything she's taking on, and it's just, you can see kind of where Angie was after 1 year and then started picking that up. Amanda's done that. But between the two of them, I mean, Angie and Amanda truly run our building. I mean, they are really good at running our building, from kid issues to parent issues to keeping Hass and I even halfway focused. I mean, they are unbelievable. So, I mean, sometimes you don't get that recognition. I just thought publicly I'd say that. I want to recognize Stacia too. So we haven't had a Spanish teacher. I think this is year 3 or 4. I've been asking Julie about some numbers and just cost effectiveness. And when I go to, do we want to apply for a Spanish teacher? We should. It's important to have somebody in that room to teach it. But when we don't, our online Spanish curriculum is excellent. The teachers who do it from Northwest Iowa are excellent, but it's successful because what Stacia has bought into. Things that I ask of our staff, she's kind of treated like a staff member. I mean, she goes above and beyond, like even our staff member, as far as coverage. And when I ask how we do a study hall or win time and some of that, yeah, I mean, she is just on it and has really helped our Spanish kids. So I just talk about teachers, and sometimes I just wanted to talk about a couple other ones. Iowa Best, somebody, Corey or John or somebody asked to report to Iowa Best. Are you going to share? Are you going to read it out loud or just tell it, or did you pull quotes? I have just their emails that they sent to me. Mine are a little, I asked for you, each one are about a paragraph. Do you want me to read those out loud, or do you want me to summarize?
Summarize.
Okay, great. So I mean, we talked to all of our staff. I had multiple conversations with staff after that, but I did ask Cassie Applegate, Kyle Teeslink, Kristen, and Ryan Hermes to give some feedback. So we had a new teacher, a couple core teachers, and then a CTE teacher. Across the board, they were 3 of the 4 were over the moon about how juiced they were coming out of that conference. Heard things like, sometimes you have to realize why we got into the profession. It really said, hey, remember why you got into this. And sometimes the day-to-day, and I'm paraphrasing, these are them saying that the day-to-day stuff, it can come so bogged down, grading and curriculum and all these initiatives, to forget it's about connecting with kids. And it's about building relationships with kids. A lot of mental health stuff. Ryan talked about how important sleep is to all of us, and especially our kids. And sometimes we forget. Kristen said we forget what the kids are coming in with, or sometimes we don't even know what they're coming in with, where one size doesn't fit all anymore. Every kid needs to be looked at a little differently of what they need or how I want to handle them. Cassie talked about a session she was in called Restorative Justice, which is really a character ed initiative. We use Capturing Kids' Hearts, and Cassie made a comment that it is a little young. Capturing Kids' Hearts, as we've gotten into it, it works K-12. It really works well K-8. High school, it's a little bit, not right, where parts of it are really good. So that's a whole other area and how they do it. It's about student-led character ed, and they are the ones that call for people to have to converse with conflict and some of that. It was pretty interesting. I know enough about it in the schools. PCM was the one that presented on that. I didn't go to that session, but I knew a little bit about it. And 3 of them talked about the keynote. And I will say, I said this to Michael in our reflection and meeting about it. I've been to a lot of things, and a lot of things where you just go, I could be spending my time so much better than this. Please put me back in the building. I don't want to be out of the building. This guy, Dr. Sands, was phenomenal. He was about an hour and 20, and it felt like 15 minutes. And all 3 of them said, if you didn't sit there and want to go back and reach kids and be there for kids and support kids, you shouldn't be in this profession. He was really talking from a personal level, his at-risk student, how his life changed from being possibly in a prison because of one high school English teacher. And he's now a professor, public speaker across the country. It was, I mean, teared up, rah, rah. It was awesome. Almost the point where then you went to the breakouts, and not that they were bad. Some of mine that I went to are better than others, but that was by far the highlight of the 2 days. He did have a breakout that Kyle went to and talked about how great that was in that guy's breakout too. Something saying, and I'll just give it to you. It was Adam Sands, SAENZ. I'm sure he has an online presence. It would be worth taking a few minutes just to listen to some things he's saying. It was really, really good. So I would say we don't use letter grades. It was probably 2 A's, a B, and a C+ out of my 4 people about how those 2 days were spent. So if you can get that on a conference, you're really, really doing well. And I just asked randomly, so that's just 4 people. I had no idea what they were going to give me back except the one in my house. Parent-teacher conferences are next week. In the fall, we do non-scheduled. I've sent out a couple email reminders. I usually get some feedback from our 6th grade parents. You didn't explain it. Some of you probably sitting there. We didn't know what to expect with 6th grade, so I've kind of been over the top. We're all in the gym, little open house feel, little bit of really good for our staff to see everybody working with parents. It puts me in that room too. But that's what we do in the fall. So we're going to continue that in the spring. We do scheduled conferences, but and we will be giving the Iowa assessment scores back to all the parents that came in that night. And last thing I tried to go fast, just a change in our MTSS structure a little bit up there, which is multi-tier systems of support. It's what we're doing to help all kids, top and bottom. Maybe the 43 minutes of the class isn't enough. We got an ESSA designation with our special population a year and a half ago, and it was really focused on math and our kids with IEPs but we dug a deep dive into that with this team we put together and realized our math across the board needs some supports, and there's a lot of things missing. But quickly, in about 7-8 weeks, we've made a change and a difference across our MTSS. We've held the teachers accountable. I hate to use that term, but we are. They're putting everything in a system that now tells us why they're using tier 1 intervention for what way every single day, Tuesday through Friday when they draft. So a little bit overwhelming with me and Dennis and Travis trying to stay on top of it, but we can see our kids missing skills, our kids just needing more time, our kids missing school for whatever reason and behind. Are we doing extension activities? What are we using this MTSS time for? Walking around and watching it, it's just a lot tighter than it was. It was really loose. It bothered me sometimes. It's across from lunch. Kids weren't using it. Now we have teachers putting into the system. I mean, sometimes 1 or 2 kids a day, sometimes 10 kids a day, and having to put in every time. I'm seeing teachers at a table, at a desk, working with kids during MTSS. Before, it was kind of draft, come in, I'm here if you need me. Now it's proactive. Don't know what our data, we're probably a year or 2 out from this data. We have a meeting next week, Tuesday or Thursday, one of the conference nights with AEA, our math consultants, both of our math teachers, our support staff of math, and we're really going to keep putting that plan together of how we're doing that. The last thing we all know, math at the high school, middle school looks different than what has, because every one of those teachers can buy into the math. It's hard upstairs. We can all buy into being reading teachers, using vocab, looking at inferencing, reading nonfiction text. I mean, all at technical text. It is hard to get a staff. So if our math goal, it does fall on 2 people. And I think that's needs to continue to be at the forefront of all of us here, that how important those positions are in hiring, developing, nurturing, whatever we need to do to keep those people getting after it, because it really does fall on those 2. Ed Wilson's doing some 6th grade addition, not like subtraction addition, but added 6th grade math. He's really hit that really well. Our kids at 6th graders get another period every other day in math. And they're swamped in MTSS, which is great. Fran, I talked to her today she has 8th graders in algebra and she's flipping MTSS, but they want us to be better. So it's a focus that's a complete focus for us right now, where those kids are landing with math. Not that everything else is important, but that's all I got.
Do I have time to go?
You got 90 seconds. I'm at 7:20 buckets. How was that? Was it long?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. it was. No, that's great. You said it was 15 years old, so I was going, that's the best part of your night. Best part of your night, not even BS. Well, that was Boston, so we got some percentages for you. But we have some math in here. So we just got done with our fall screening window with FAST. So I've kind of updated you along the way where we thought we were, but we are now officially done with that screening. So we are at 71% at benchmark in reading, which is our highest fall screening period that we've had in over 8 years since we kept the data. It's not like it's a monumental growth, but typically we're somewhere around 68. So we're at 71. That was a big celebration for our group to think that we're doing the right things. Slowly that percentage will continue to rise to that 80%. In math, we were at 77% at benchmark K through 5. So that's right in line with where we've been the last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, we felt like we put a lot of work into math at the elementary over the last 5 to 6 years. So we still feel like that's trending in the right direction. With those percentages also come a data day that we dedicated our 10-3 day, October 3rd, to reading. We sit around the table with each one of the grade levels and we have data conversations, not only about FAST data, but data that are collected in the classroom that will hopefully set up our intervention time for our win. It really just shakes down to us trying to figure out what are the individual needs of each kids and then be able to provide that to them during our win or in our small groups during our core time. So we did a 10-3 day for reading, and then we also did for the first time a math data day the next day. So back-to-back days where multiple grade levels were working to try and figure out the best plan moving forward for all of our kids. And we talk a lot about not just intervening, but also enriching. So when we talk about the different scores, a lot of our things are focused on growth. And so how are we making sure that our top end kids are continuing to show growth? And the win time is dedicated to make sure that we are not only just intervening, we are also enriching. And so we're trying to figure out a plan over the next 6 weeks to make sure that we have all of our systems in place to make sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our kids, top and bottom. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We did start just this week a math win time, a dedicated 20-minute chunk of time that is whole school at the same time. So from 12:30 to 12:50 every day, we have a chunk of time that we all go into math win. And it really just allows us to move within classrooms and grade levels. So kids can move, some 4th grade kids will go up to a 5th grade teacher and not necessarily receive 5th grade instruction, but will try and meet some of the needs that they're maybe ready for. And so it's really moving on the elementary. It's just a start. It's obviously an infancy, but we're trying to figure out ways that we can meet the needs in math as well as reading, because the reading time, we have specialists that come in. We have more hands-on deck approach. With math, we don't necessarily have that. So we're trying to figure out ways to maybe ensure that our small group time is benefiting all the kids and what they need. So that's been a start. We'll continue to make changes with it as we go, but I think we're pretty excited about the idea that we can freely move amongst the entire elementary with our kids to different teachers to try and meet their needs. So that's exciting. We did just spend, we had $1,400 from our Books Are Fun, or Books for Fun fundraiser all the way back in May. That we had $1,400 that was unspent for the elementary, that we bought some STEM kits for K1 and also some different books and classroom materials for the kids. So that was a nice little present as a coming back for teachers and those little small groups things. As I keep going, next week is Red Ribbon Week. So we're going to celebrate some healthy lifestyle choices in the elementary. I dress up in red day on Wednesday. We'll have our elementary assembly on Wednesday next week to celebrate some of the great things that have been happening. And I think that's going to include a glow stick dance party that was a huge hit last year. So some fun to celebrate all the hard work that they've done, but also try and make sure that we recognize the healthy lifestyle that's occurring. So I will share some of the stuff that I asked my teachers. So I just asked anybody and everybody that just wanted to respond as far as what they thought of the best conference. Again, many of them mentioned the great opening speaker, which he did an awesome job, but a lot of my focus or their focus was talking about movement, brain breaks,
recognizing that kids aren't just gonna be able to sit inside of a classroom and sit and get. The reality is that they need to get up and move, and trying to find ways to include movement within our classroom, but also taking breaks out as needed when kids are squirrely or what have you. So many of them mentioned that. Some talked about, what was it, walk 100 miles or something, some initiative that's out there that they want to try and include in the elementary, which I told them anything and everything that we can take and get, we'll try and include. It's called the 100-mile challenge, mentioned by Mrs. Buckland, and it's again just asking kids to be able to move around throughout their day. So it's not just a bunch of sit and get, especially at the elementary. And then Ms. Hoffman talked about having, again, it's about those breakout sessions. So some are good, some are better than others, but she found that a lot of hers were meaningful to her. Obviously, as a guidance counselor, she found a lot of positives in that entire session. I took away a lot from things that maybe we can do in the elementary, or different grants that I can go and apply for to try and provide some of the things that we don't necessarily have in place now that other small schools may have in place. And a lot of that comes down to maybe finding some kind of different rooms that we can have to support some of our kids. So a lot of mine were very positive. I didn't have a negative comment sent, other than maybe that they sat in one bad session of the whole day, and which is you're going to get at any conference. So yes, and then the last thing is parent teacher conferences. Obviously, we try and get 100% participation. So we've got our sign up out, and all parents are supposed to try and come to one of those nights on Tuesday or Thursday. And I think right now we're close to being fully signed up. So excited for that. And with that, also that night, there is a couple different vendors that are setting up that I think Ms. Hoffman really ran the first night. Yep, the 24th. Set up, and there's like maybe 17 different vendors that'll be there. So it'll be a nice little thing for the community to be able to not only get the conferences done, but also be able to tour through the gym and find different resources that may be available to them. So that's all I got.
Do we block that gym for activities?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm on the schedule, but I gave up. Yeah.
Ice your elbow if you're tired.
Thanks, guys. Thanks to the teachers too, who responded. Sounds like it went really well. A lot of good stuff coming before, and it's good to hear it after. Sure, but you did it.
We're a little frustrated because we found out that next year they're moving it to Sunday, Monday, and they're moving it to Iowa City. So like.
At least you got to this one.
This we got to this one, so we'll have to kind of figure out what the calendar's gonna look like.
I felt like it was really good, but it's one of those that maybe you don't need every year. It's every
Yeah.
3 or 4, because it's all really good, but there's not, I mean, you could hit a new breakout, but it's definitely about mental health, each individual kid. Great, but you know, if you're gonna turn a few staff over, but every 3 or 4 is probably,
Yeah.
that's how I felt.
Could you do one or the other day as opposed to both days, did you feel like, or do you feel like you really needed both days?
Well, you got more breakouts the second day, and you got a keynote, and I mean, it's just kind of it's a 2-day deal. I mean, you could, but
We've talked a little bit with CIA team, leadership team, about like what else, if we feel like this time is valuable, what else would we do instead? You know, maybe PLC conference or just different options.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to think through that. The nice thing about Iowa Best is that in Des Moines, and it's free, like it's no
Yes.
registration fee for the staff at all, so.
as
what-
opposed to solution
I
tree.
mean, that's like.
You think huddles,
$700.
huddle string, when you solution.
Yeah.
trees.
I keep my mouth shut with that.
They have good stuff,
And-
but they're like.
And they have a little bit of corner on the market.
Again, yeah, they sure do. They have excellent speakers, but I think it is around $700 or $800 per person.
That's a conference we.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just they do all these different types, but it's under the solution tree umbrella.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's what we went to. Remember, Jason came back with us and took his staff to Minneapolis, and then I got on board and we took some people. I'm trying to figure out how you become one of those solution tree
Really,
owners.
it's our own little master solution. Okay, for huddle and for everything.
Thanks, guys. Move on to the participation now in the drug and alcohol testing program.
Yeah, this is just a routine thing. We're required to do drug testing for customers.
Motion to approve the program.
So moved.
Second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Estimation of the drug testing program. We're on to SIAC committee.
If you click on that link, you'll have the list of the site committee members. Dr. Anderson invited all these people. I don't know for sure who she's heard back yes or no from. But we have our first SIAC meeting scheduled for the 8th. Is that right?
Maybe this, yeah, you're right, it's the
And so we're still working on the agenda for it and stuff, but we just, part of the requirement is that we approve our committee. So like, it's the same committee as last year. There's a couple people who asked to be taken off it, or we had some that have moved on, you know, like Mrs. Kibbe was on it and she's no longer with us. And so we swapped out a couple of people, but otherwise it's pretty much the same team that we've had in the past.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the SIAC committee?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no. SIAC committee's been approved. So follow up to our public hearing on the resolution for the flexibility funds. We mentioned, Julie, you can probably explain a little better, but
Yep, so we had just over 43,000 left over from the last couple of years of preschool, after we fully funded our preschool with, salaries and benefits and everything we needed, supplies, everything we needed is there. We still had
Para too, right?
Para too. We still had 43,000 left over, and that's not including what we're going to get for this year. We normally get around $90,000 a year. So what I ask is that, and Hannah said it was okay, is that we move that 43,000, you move it into a flexibility account, and then I can move it from a flexibility account. This is all in general fund. From the flexibility account, basically anywhere I wanted to. The strings that are attached to it when it goes into the flexibility account do not come out with it when it comes out of there. So now I have the ability to use it on just about anything. Obviously, we'll use it on salaries and benefits, which would then free up those funds to whatever we need or to save. That's what I'm requesting.
Questions? Roll call, sorry.
I do, so we'll go ahead and do your normal voting and then I'll call after
I
that.
make a motion to approve the resolution to transfer the carryover EK funds to the flexibility.
I'll second.
No second, we have all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or I'm sorry, I guess we did.
That's okay. John Northrop,
Yes.
Debbie Meyer,
Yes.
Colette Kunkel, Kim Ticky, Corey Robbins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Continue on about the district calendar start date.
So this isn't approving the district calendar. This is just approving that we're gonna start school on August 23rd, which is the first day legally we can start school. So it's a Friday, which is kind of a unique situation. Since I've been here, we've had that one other time. It's the first day of school is on Friday. But yeah, so we just need to approve that date.
First football game at home that night. Too.
Yeah, I remember we had that before. I remember.
You already know
It's
that for
Jersey on the.
That's the third, and that's home, so it'd be nice to start school on that day. It's supposed to start on Monday. It won't really feel so.
Yeah. We'll have to try to
Is that week one or week
It'll be a week 0 because it's a rollback week for the Athletics Association union, so everything will go back a week.
So we just need to approve the start date, and then once you approve that, I can start working ahead then on.
So we have a motion to approve the August 23rd start date for next year. Motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, say no.
Who was the first? I couldn't do that. So you.
Start date's been approved for 24-25. We put an opening.
We have, Michael DeGrave Jr. for his daughter Morgan in ninth grade to attend Baxter after a recent move into the new school district. Does this one already go here?
Yeah, she started on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not like Greg.
They're actually from, I'll tell you that where they're from, Oklahoma. Maybe it does, maybe it gives you a Newton address, but they're,
It's gotta do
down
down
south somewhere.
We have a motion to approve the open enrollment.
so moved.
Good second.
Second.
Favor say aye. Aye. Say no. Enrollment's been approved. Steve mentioned facilities, grounds, and transportation.
Does Bill got?
Okay, so I talked to Bill, so he's working with the insurance company on the washer, the blower motors, scoreboard, and the exhaust fans. He doesn't know what all that's gonna get approved or not, but he's trying to get it run through with insurance.
Breakdown insurance.
Breakdown insurance, yep. Like though, there's some, you might have seen a bunch of bills from Goodwin Tucker. And so what that was the walk-in refrigerator. The seal around it wasn't working. And so they came out to fix it, replace it, then they brought the wrong seal. And then, so they had to come back out and replace it again, or to bring the right one and replace it. And then they realized another refrigerator or freezer wasn't sealing right, so they brought another one. And so he is actually battling with them right now because he's saying, just because you brought the wrong seal doesn't mean that I should have to pay your mileage trips back and forth.
So then I probably shouldn't pay this.
Yeah, don't pay it.
I
Yeah,
think it
don't.
went out in the mail today.
Oh, well,
I'll.
yeah. So he's fighting with them about that. And then there was one other bill that was, it's questionable about the seats in the lunchroom. Apparently the ones that we've always ordered are way more expensive. And so he ordered the ones that we've always ordered in the past. And then he realized, I mean, he used them, but then he shopped around and found there was one that works just as well. That is quite a bit cheaper. So he said, moving forward, so if you saw bills for like, one was like $1,100, one was like $600 for lunchroom seats. That's why, because he's using all of them up, but once he realized that there's other options out there, he's going with the other option. He said they work just like, so he's 100% all in on the cheaper ones. And then I can, as far as some bids, he's having trouble getting anybody to come back to him on anything. I'll follow up with him again on that. But we did hear, I was gonna talk about it in my superintendent report, but we did hear back about our grant. And it got approved finally. And so then Julie and I had a Zoom call with the Department of Homeland Security. And part of the problem is all the bids that we had to get for the grant were all like good for 90 days. And so now we're having to go out and get new bid, I mean, same products, but getting like an updated bids. So we can't actually like get going on it yet until we get those new bids back. But at least we know we got approved, we got the $100,000 or we will get it, but you have to buy the stuff and then Julie uploads it to a site and then they pay us back. So that's kind of where we're at with all that. But thank goodness, finally, we got the green light on that one. That's kind of my facilities and grounds update.
Yeah, maybe check with Bill, see if like on those garage doors and that
Yeah.
for the hail damage.
Yeah. There's several things, so I was hoping.
Else? Personnel?
Oh, sorry. Julie, did you get anything on the van suburban?
It's been
deal?
crickets. So the guy from Carl was, searching. It's been crickets.
Okay.
Personnel.
So we have a resignation from Josiah Eccles as junior high, or I mean, as assistant high school track coach. Do you want to accept that? Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation.
I'll second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll say no. Resignation's been approved.
Okay, and then contracts for Anna Van Dusen as assistant middle school girls basketball coach. And then contracts for Anna Travis and Holly Ford. And this will be part of TLC, the lead para.
Not this year.
Moving forward, it'll be part of TLC. And so what they'll do is they're working directly with our paraprofessionals. And they're doing a lot of professional development with them on Monday mornings. And they're coaching them up because a lot of those people, they don't have any training in how to be a para, and it's not by no fault of their own. I mean, you're just pulling them out off the street. And so these two are working with the AEA and working through the curriculum of what do we want our paras to know and be able to do. And then they're teaching them that on Monday mornings. So it's going to be a really nice addition to their professional learning.
And that starts.
Well, they're starting it now.
Okay.
So they've started doing some of the training, but then we realized, oh, we never actually have approved the contract, so we need to go back and contracts.
Motion to approve the two contracts. Second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Contract's been approved.
Well, we're kind of, I don't know if that's the right place on that, school play deal that didn't happen last spring, it's gonna happen this fall. Was that?
So I contacted the person that had Mrs. Snyder, and she just said that she was unable to fulfill her contract now, and she has too many things going on and she won't be doing it. So I said that we will not be having another play because we've already paid her to do the play. And so I told her, our school board may have several questions about this and expect some follow-up from the board because we had an agreement. And she is now unable to fulfill it.
She willing to refund the money that we paid or?
I don't think so. And I've talked to some like Mr. Luther, and he's explained to me that in the past, apparently this has happened, not with her directly, but with other plays. We've had play sponsors who've been paid to do the play. And then at the last minute just said, we're not doing it. The kids aren't showing up. It's not working. And they've already been paid. So what we did with this is like after this, Julie and I met last spring, and we talked through a whole system of this is not how we're going to do business anymore. So now you have to like form the play and then you get paid for it. So we're just not, I mean, it's more work for Julie, but she's been very gracious in helping us to make sure that that system that has been in place is just not how we do it anymore, because then we won't be able to get caught in these situations. So.
Remember, we had co-play people, so we gotta keep that in mind, and that person's no longer with us.
And they
And
did
actually,
that
that
going
was-
into it.
that was
We
the
had already
actual
agreed to
play.
that.
Person who recruited the other one, a little bit of. I did some legwork knowing that that may not happen, wanting to at least give opportunities for kids that wanted to do that. Whether it's even at a smaller level, a lunchbox, improv, something just, and there wasn't much excitement out of our student body to the point where I didn't feel like if we, myself and another teacher said, hey, we've got a plan, maybe do this, and it was even crickets out of our kids. So I just want to make sure we should always support our kids, give them every opportunity. I feel somewhat that I don't think that there's a big couple kids here or there, but that doesn't make a play where you have one or two rah-rah and another maybe iffies. I mean, you need 10 or 15 kids. And
So
so I just, we don't like work after I was involved in it. That wasn't going to happen from that person. And they did some work towards that. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
I guess moving forward, we'll have something.
Actually, for all activities right now.
Right.
So if somebody, starts getting paid and next thing you know, they're not doing assistant girls track because life changed. I moved out of state. Instead of trying to track down that 1,500 or 2,000, we'll just wait till you're doing it.
Right.
I was curious where that landed.
One of the district enrollment.
So this is just kind of short and sweet. This is the certified enrollment. So we count days October 1st and then we certify on October 15th. So we're actually up 0.9 kids because this is, you count your kids in house. And if you see that, you'll see that we're down 25.1 actual resident students from last year. But we have more open enrollment, which is fantastic, but it's still, it puts us at a net just about +1.
Big drop.
It's more volatile ones in the open.
So, any ideas, why such a drastic drop in, do we have like?
We had a
big
big class.
family
Well,
or,
we had a big class graduate.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, that's true.
I don't know how many we have in preschool right now, I can't. It's not the same as the class that we just graduated, we know that. They're smaller, but, I don't know that we necessarily had it.
I forgot about the big class. We have talked about that before.
It's like last month, we're looking at kind of class sizes from last year and this year, and they're all about the same, but most of them probably do this open enrollment as far as filling in that.
Yeah.
The bad thing is this year's seniors is a pretty big
It's
class
a big class
too.
too.
Gonna take a hit again. It's funny, and Colette and John probably were close to the same time I came in. I was looking, I can remember Neil saying, I mean, we are living off open enrollment. We're living at that. And I looked at those numbers when I first got there, it was 45 kids. And now it's 145 kids. That was, I mean, that's a long time ago, obviously, but still, when remember saying that's our bread and butter, this OE, and it was 45 and now it's 145. That's awesome to our district and everybody involved. 145 kids are choosing to be here from other districts.
Right.
That's nuts.
And so even just, I was just looking at like in the 5 years or so since I've been here, I knew it's steadily kind of been going up. But we're up 38 kids just since 2018.
In open enrollment.
And just in total kids. We've had some, that one year, if you look at 2020, with the 18 additional in-house kids, that like actually live in our district, that's fantastic. But we just have to, and I know it's a problem that the city's talking about. We just need to get housing that's affordable for people to move here. It's wonderful that we have this open enrollment, but when they move here and pay taxes here, that's what pays the bills. So. But we're thankful to be even up one. I mean, there's districts our size all over the state that are, they're down 25 actual kids, so they don't want to be in that position either.
You know what, our open enrollment compared to other districts, I mean, we used to be like top in the state almost. I don't think we get the top, but. School with,
I would say we're in the top 20 anyway. That's where we were over the last 2 years, I'm gonna say. I haven't seen where all of the numbers have come out since we just certified, so I don't.
I want to say percentage of kids served versus OE, we may have been third or fourth, like 2 or 3 years
Yeah,
ago.
I was gonna say on a percentage basis, we had probably,
But I understand that's all going to look different now with our with the, I don't remember the name of what Governor Reynolds is letting people go where they want for $7 grand. So that will,
The vouchers.
yeah, now it affects private school, but it's affecting school choice. It's affecting public schools too, that now I can.
It's affecting our
Well,
funding,
and changing,
categorical funding.
yeah,
For sure.
and changing the date, kids can come and go.
Yeah,
fluidly.
now it's,
It's just-
that's the biggest, I mean, besides the 7,000 following them, they could go somewhere on, whatever day they want to do. Yeah.
And they come back the next, I mean,
You may
That's
say,
the-
yeah,
so that makes it trickier
a
too.
lot trickier. And when our numbers are 145 and it's 30% of our, that really gets a little scary, but it's
It's
not,
very volatile.
yeah, can't,
Especially without that deadline, yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
You
we're up
having to stay.
25 or whatever this year, we could be
Be
down.
down
that
20,
next
that
year.
easy.
I mean,
Yeah.
And as easy it is for, like, there's still at the high school level, the eligibility thing. But if a parent gets mad or a kid gets mad about something, they can just go. It used to be you couldn't just go. Now you can just come and go as you please. That's school choice.
In fact, I took a call today and someone wants to start tomorrow.
The crazy part of that at the high school level is it's still
I'd like to.
district choice whether you're going to allow them to be eligible. So I was at 2 different meetings in the last 2 weeks. There's a conference that have all said, we're going to let everybody go and be eligible. And there's other conferences.
Eligible at the high school?
Yeah, so if you OE today, I could go over there and play football tomorrow.
You don't have to wait 90 days.
Not if
the district letting you.
letting you out
If
says
if
we're
a
good.
kid left Baxter and they wanted to go play for
West Marshall.
West Marshall, for example. We could decide as a district, we'll waive the 90 days, or we could decide we will not waive the 90 days. Because I'd had some conversations with a neighboring district, because I would have done the same thing he did. There was a student that wanted to come here and wanted to play right away, and they said, our district has made the decision that we will not waive eligibility, so you have to sit 90 days. So that.
And there's a district on the other side of this that is allowing kids to play right away. So that's what's craziness about it. That depends where they come in from. Because like right now, if an athlete wanted to come from Newton, if they're not approving it, they're probably not coming.
Right.
But if they came from another district that's allowing, then all of a sudden it's just, and it's craziness of who's eligible and not.
Just like, you might know what college.
Yeah, beside.
What's the checks
So-
and balance?
Yeah, so what I've told districts that have asked me, I've said, not approve your kid, why would I encourage kids to leave Baxter to go play somewhere else? So I've said no, but I don't know if we need an actual official policy, we might, but, I've just said like, I would not encourage it because why make it easier for kids to just walk out the door and go play somewhere else? So I would recommend that we do not waive the 90 days. Right.
So where's the checks and balance at?
What do you mean?
I mean, how do I know that Newton said that they could play and that Newton is checking to see if they're playing? Because there's no place on the forms.
The AD level has to make sure as the kids coming in, if there's an eligibility 90-day wait or it's waived. So it's all from, at least from the state, they're asking the ADs to check and monitor that daily to make sure you have the kids that are playing that are eligible. So I would guess the ADs checking either through Michaelin or to those other, if we get somebody in, which we have one right now wanting to play basketball and that district's not letting them out. And we have another one that the district let them out. So tell me how that is craziness to me,
Yeah.
but I blame the state. I mean, that's what, or everybody involved, that they just didn't want to take a stand because at the meeting I was at in Boone, the rumor was that from the top end office, they're going to tell everybody they can play. We're not, because what we want to do is everybody have school choice, and we sure don't want the eligibility hanging over. So now just keep going where you want and play immediately. They felt like that was coming in a very short time.
Well,
Now,
at least
it's
that
not-
would make it
It would
fair.
all be even, and then it's gonna be
Yeah.
really the wild, wild west, that
Yeah.
you're gonna play football at Baxter, but you're gonna go play basketball in Sully.
Right.
And then you're gonna go play baseball down at East Marshall.
And who cares where you live?
Oh, mate, well, that doesn't matter anymore anyway, but
Get your $7,000. Yeah, like that's.
Where you're learning.
it'd be the October one, so then you're gonna serve them all year long.
October 1st is where.
That's where your money's gonna fall.
So you want
I
to
guess
have a really
you're
good
really
football
strong
team.
Basketball.
We're talking about October
Right.
first.
Check the census data to see what numbers are doing in each of the age groups that you're talking about. Are they going up? Are they going down? And by location, what are they doing? Because that has an impact on some of what they're seeing here.
I mean, the birth cohort's about the same every year, so it's like 35 or so thousand kids born every year in Iowa, so.
Somebody did look.
I mean, I just know that, but.
That seems grand school because I didn't have, but I
I
was
mean,
just
it's not like there's a huge trend. of
tossing it out,
births
yeah, to try to
in one
make
year
sure
or another.
somebody was looking at it because it is a factor. Thank you.
Yeah. All my thunders pretty much been stolen again by these guys, but before Rob leaves, I just want to recognize, October is National Principals Month. And I think we're pretty lucky to have the two that we have, so, I don't know if I told you guys that earlier.
District Principals Month and Red Ribbon Week.
Yeah. So, anyway, thanks
Thank
to
you.
both of you too.
Thank
I appreciate having you and you're a pleasure to work with. Most days.
I'm sure it was a lot better this year.
Usually good to listen to you guys.
Yeah, I think
Right,
Baxter's
thanks.
been pretty lucky to have.
Thank you.
both of them, for as long as we've had.
I hope you're up by 10:30. If you are, it's a win.
We're letting you out 3 minutes early.
That just was a good time to
Yeah.
take my positive and go, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ron.
Just we already talked about IASB convention. The safety grant, I just gave you the update, the resource fair. So it's on the 24th. And thanks to Amanda Hoffman, Mr. Dee, Mrs. Halter. Those are the ones that mostly, they've really kind of ran, Mrs. TG also has helped. And so there's gonna be some really good resources for parents and families. There's counselors in there, and I don't know who all they've got lined up, but several vendors, not vendors, but companies. And then also there's a thing that's set up that's called Hidden in Plain Sight or something like that. And that's for kids, for parents only. So kids are not allowed in there, but what it is they set up a simulated bedroom. And they have things that maybe would look like this water bottle, but you can unscrew it and it's got, hidden compartment that you put alcohol in and things like that, or places to hide drugs. And so there's like, I don't know, 15 or 20 or something hidden in plain sight things. And so parents are supposed to just walk through it. And then you go back with the answer key and you're like, holy smokes, I didn't know that was. And so it's just a really good eye-opening thing for parents. And so that's gonna be in the gym. So all that's in the gym. I think Rob misspoke and said that conferences were in the gym, but their conferences are in the cafeteria. But this resource fair is right next to it in the gym. So definitely thank you to all those people for all the hard work on that. And then just something that Taste wanted to get on your radar for you to be thinking about. There's a new program or something like that the district could possibly start offering free lunches for all kids in the future, depending on if our free and reduced goes below or goes above, I think it's 25%. And she said we're pretty close right now. And then once that happens, if the board decides to go that direction and approve that, then you're locked in for 4 years. I said, kids, would you offer it for like a year? And then all of a sudden if your free and reduced goes up to, or drops to 20. And she said, no, it's a 4-year deal. Once you are in, you're in. And it's, so she just wanted you to be thinking about that. Because.
Government picks up, like,
Yeah.
kind of like when they had COVID.
Yeah, I
where
think
they-
so, but there would be some difference, I should talk to you about this, or
She hasn't said anything to me, but I can tell you that the silver lining in COVID was great to our lunch fund.
So, I mean, just something to think about that. I said, what are the drawbacks? And I mean, I can't remember what she said, but she said potentially there could be some drawbacks. But if this becomes a thing, she wants to come and talk to the board about it. So just have it just on your radar that this could potentially happen. But it won't be until next school year. Then the other stuff is just kind of updated dates. I just kind of did corresponding dates from last year for the board facility tour, the work session. One thing that I need you to note, we did talk, the December board meeting is gonna get moved up to the 13th. I think we talked about that last month. But then when I was looking ahead at the school calendar for the March meeting, the way this whole rollback thing is, the spring break week is actually the second week, like the board meeting, so we won't need to move the board meeting up because the board meeting will actually be, if we moved it up, it would be during spring break that year. So the board meeting is actually just its normal third.
But we won't be here the week before to pay the bills.
Right, so I don't know if you have to pay the spring break, if you look at the calendar, spring break. This next spring in March is, the week of March 11th through the 13th. But March 13th is only the second Wednesday of the month. So the third Wednesday of the month is actually the 20th. So,
Spring break is the 11th.
yeah, the 11th through the 15th.
Yeah, the 20th, I'll be going to the DC trip,
Okay.
so, but
So just, or we, I just wanted people to be aware, because hadn't even looked at that until I was working on the notes and I saw that, and then I double checked to make sure, like. But I'm wrong, but I checked Iowa State's, and I mean, that's when spring break is, it's just because. The 28th, the way the calendar fell, yeah. So, and then the April board meeting will be on the 10th, so that we can have that. Budget certified by the 15th. Questions?
this time, board's gonna enter an exempt session. Discuss employment conditions of employees, so. Please,
I'll make a motion to go into exempt session.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
See you soon.
Thank you.
7:23.